So you can imagine, I've seen a lot of presentations, right? A lot of presentations. I even slept through a lot of presentations. And last 8 years, I've been working as a consultant with mostly startup companies, but not just startups, small companies, mostly small companies. Once again, I've seen a lot of presentations. Now, the method that I'm going to share with you today is a method that I did not invent it. I learned it from somebody else who's a guru in this field more than 20 years ago. And I've been using it. I'm like an avid student of this method. Over the years, of course, I refined it, and as I am working with clients, of course, I'm learning also, I have learned how to teach others how to use this method. And I'm also looking for supporting evidence of why this presentation method works. Not only that it works, I'm promising you that this is the most effective presentation method. And that's a big promise, okay? I'm putting my name here next to the word most. It is the most effective presentation method, and I hope to be able to convince you the same. Okay? So the first thing we are going to do an exercise together. We are going to watch a video. Those of you who do not speak Hebrew, this gentleman speaks Hebrew, Dr. Noam Feinholz. He speaks Hebrew. I looked for an English version of this talk, but there isn't any. So for about 9 minutes, I apologize, but I promise you that as soon as he's finished, we're going to summarize everything that he says. Because he captures in 9 minutes everything that I want to teach you. Okay? I will follow after him and teach you to do what he is preaching you to do. He's telling you to do it, but he doesn't tell you how. And this is what I am going to try to do, to teach you how to do it. So we'll wait 1 second for Shmuel here to join us and take a seat because I'm starting a video. Forget your name, come have a seat here. So what I'm asking you to do is to listen carefully to Dr. Noam Feinholz and take notes. You have little pieces of paper here. Take notes. What is it that he's telling you or preaching you to do? Okay? And we'll summarize all of it after he's finished.
Shalom. Shalom.
מה אני יכולה לספר לך? עצוב. אני גם יושבת את השכנה שלי. וכרגע, בזה הרגע בעלי בוגלתי. בשניות האלה, אני יושבת ממול אצל השכנה שלי. ובשנייה הזאת בעלי בוגלתי.
מה ששמעתם עכשיו, זו אישה שהתקשרה ליוסי סייס. לפני הרבה שנים. וסיפרה על מערכת היחסים שלה עם בעלה. היא יושבת אצל השכנה שלה, ובזה הרגע, בשנייה הזו, בעלה בוגד בה. ככה מתחילים סיפור, חברים. החיים שלה לא פשוטים, לא נלמד ממנה על זוגיות, אבל משהו על סטורי טיילינג, משהו על איך תופסים אוזן של קהל בשנייה הראשונה, ברגע הראשונה. אפשר ללמוד מהאישה הזו. בכלל, כשמנסים לחשוב איך עושים את זה, אנחנו צריכים להבין שהפתיחה היא חשובה. הפתיחה היא משמעותית, הפתיחה היא קריטית. כשאנחנו עומדים מול קהל ומספרים סיפור, כל האנשים שעמדו כאן לפניי, יש לנו בערך 90 שניות. לתפוס להם את האוזן, לעשות להם קווץ' קטן בבטן, להעיף להם את הראש ולשכנע אותם ששווה להקשיב לנו. כי אם תוך 90 שניות לא עשינו את כל הדברים האלה, כל מה שיקרה אחר כך לא באמת רלוונטי. הם תקועים איתנו באותה ישיבה, באותה פגישה, באותה פרזנטציה, באותו ערב נחמד, אנחנו מדברים, אבל בצד השני מתחיל מוות קליני, והראש עושה כן כזה כמו כלב דשבורד. יש לנו 90 שניות לצוד את תשומת הלב שלהם ולשכנע אותם ששווה להקשיב לנו. כי היום לספר סיפור, זה לא סתם לספר סיפור, היום לספר סיפור זה לפתוח דלת אתה מספר על החלום שלך, על המוצר שלך, על היוזמה שלך, על העסק שלך, על הארגון שלך, על עצמך, ואם סיפרת טוב, משהו בצד השני נפתח ודברים מתחילים להתגלגל. אז שמענו כאן את האישה הזו מספרת ליוסי סייס, שבעלה בזה הרגע בוגד בה. זו פתיחה פנטסטית, כי תדמיינו את עצמכם בלילה, נניח 1 בלילה, חוזרים לאיזה אירוע, מגיעים לחנייה, רגע לפני שאתם מכבים את הסוויץ' ועולים הביתה, אתם שומעים את הדבר הזה. האם אתם נשארים באוטו? ברור, כי כולנו צהובים, וכולנו מציצנים, וכולנו סאקרים של סיפורים, אנחנו לא עומדים בפני הפיתוי הזה. ומה שחשוב להבין שהאישה הזו, בלי לשים לב, יישמה את הכלל הכי חשוב של קוונטין טרנטינו. הכלל הזה שאומר שלכל סיפור יש התחלה, אמצע וסוף. אבל לא בהכרח בסדר הזה. אנחנו צריכים לחשוב איך לספר אותו בצורה הכי טובה. הרי אם אותה אישה הייתה מתקשרת ליוסי סייס ומספרת את הסיפור כרונולוגית, כמו שרובנו מספרים סיפורים, זה היה נשמע אחרת לגמרי. יוסי, אתה מבין, אני הכרתי את בעלי לפני 8 שנים. אני עדיין זוכרת את הדייט הראשון שלנו ברובננקו. אכלתי סלט טונה. אחרי זה עברנו לגור ביחד. ואני זוכרת, הוא היה קצת בלגניסט, אבל איכשהו זרם בחתונה. היה קבבון עם טחינה, והרב היה נורא נחמד. ואז שנים אחר כך הכרתי את החברה הכי טובה שלי, שנמצאת עכשיו בסלון ביתי, ובעלי בוגד בי איתה. אף אחד מאיתנו לא היה מגיע למשפט האחרון הזה, כי בקבבון עם הטחינה היינו עולים הביתה. ולכן האופן שבו אנחנו מסדרים את הסיפור, התחלה, אמצע וסוף, זו בחירה מאוד חשובה. לחשוב איך בכל רגע המשפט הבא שלי יתפוס את האוזן של המאזינים. אז פתיחה חזקה זה דבר אחד. כמו שאוילרגר אמר במבצע סבתא, איך מנצחים בתחרות שחייה, תתחיל הכי חזק שלך ולאט לאט תגביר. והסידור של הדברים הוא משמעותי, אבל בסוף, הכל צריך להתכנס למסר אחד. ברעיון אחד מרכזי שבאת להעביר לקהל. כולנו חיים בהפרעת קשב קולקטיבית כזאת, אנחנו לא תופסים יותר מזה, מסר אחד ברור. הנה דוגמה מעולם הפרסום, פרסומת לחוט דנטלי של קולגייט. אתם שמים לב שלבחור הזה יש משהו בשיניים? ברור, כי כשיש לך משהו בשיניים, כולם יראו את זה, חוט דנטלי. שמים לב לבחור הזה שיש לו משהו בשיניים? ברור, כי כשיש לך משהו בשיניים, כולם יראו את זה. וכמובן שגם לבחור הזה יש משהו בשיניים. מסר ברור, חוט דנטלי. אבל זה לא כזה פשוט. בואו נסתכל שוב על הבחור הראשון. אתם שמים לב למשהו שחסר כאן? אין לו אוזן. אבל למי אכפת שאין לך אוזן כשיש לך משהו בשיניים? חוט דנטלי. מה מוזר בתמונה הזו? כמה אצבעות? 6 אצבעות. למי אכפת? יש לו משהו בשיניים. וכמובן שהיד הזאת לא שייכת לאף אחד. זאת אומרת, גם כשאתם מעבירים מסר אחד, ברור, מזוקק, אפילו אם זה מסר שיווקי, צריך להיות מתוחכם. כזה שגורם לקהל לעשות 1 ועוד 1 שווה 2. כזה שגורם לנו להסתכל על זה שוב ושוב ושוב. אז כשאנחנו חושבים על איך לספר סיפור טוב, בסופו של דבר זה סך הבחירות המושכלות שאנחנו מקבלים. איך לפתוח, איך להתחבר לנקודת המבט של האנשים שיושבים מולך. התחלה אמצע סוף, לא בהכרח בסדר הזה. מה המסר הברור שלי? אבל צריך להיזהר לא לספר סיפורים טוב מדי. למה אני מתכוון? לדוגמה הזאת. ידיעות אחרונות לפני 10 שנים, כותרת, בני ברק, נקודותיים, בן 4 נפל מקומה רביעית. זאת לא כותרת ראשית, זה היה עמוד 17, ידיעה פיצית. בני ברק, נקודותיים, בן 4 נפל מקומה רביעית. מתוך הניסיון התקשורתי שלכם, מת או לא מת? לא מת. אם הוא היה מת, היו כותבים, וזה היה בעמוד הראשון. אבל משכו את תשומת ליבי. אז אני מתחיל לקרוא. ילד בן 4 נפל אתמול בערב מקומה רביעית לקומה השלישית. זאת אומרת, זה לא בדיוק מה שהבטחתם לי. איך נופלים מקומה רביעית לקומה שלישית? מרפסות, חבלי כביסה, שכן זריז, נכון? יש שלל טכניקות. אתה ממשיך לקרוא. ילד בן 4 נפל אתמול בערב מקומה רביעית לקומה השלישית בחדר המדרגות של בניין מגורים בבני ברק. המשפחה הזעיקה את מגן דוד אדום כ-20 דקות אחרי הנפילה, כשהילד איבד את הכרתו. איך נופלים בחדר מדרגות? אל תטרחו, מגן דוד אדום מצאו את הילד שהידרדר במהלך משחק ונחבל בראשו. אני רוצה שלרגע תחוו את הפער הזה בין בני ברק, ילד בן 4 נפל מקומה רביעית, לבין ילד שהידרדר במהלך משחק ונחבל בראשו. יש לי ילדים בערך בגיל הזה, ככה הם יורדים לפעמים. זה לא סיפור בשום צורה, אין לזה שום זכות קיום בעיתון. ולכן כשאתה מגיע לסוף הידיעה, אני אישית רציתי לשרוף את ידיעות אחרונות. אתה מרגיש מרומה, אתה מרגיש ששיקרו לך בפרצוף. אגב, זה לא קשור לכלום, אבל שימו לב ל4 וקומה רביעית. זה לא מקרי. יש מחקרים מגניבים שמדברים על זה שלעורכי עיתונים יש פטיש בלתי מוסבר לסימטריה מספרית. אם זה הילד בן 3, הם היו כותבים קומה שלישית, זה מסתדר יותר טוב, ויותר מזה רק תארו לעצמכם שזה לא היה בבני ברק, אלא נניח בקריית 4. אתם מדמיינים? תראו, קריית 4, ילד בן 4, נפל מקומה רביעית, כל המערכת יושבת, הם מריירים שם, שמפניה, זה מדהים. זאת אומרת, זה נחמד אולי בעיתונות שגם ככה אין לעמוד שדרה. אבל כשאנחנו באים לספר את הסיפור שלנו, את החלום שלנו, אני אומר את זה תמיד לסטארט-אפיסטים שאני עובד איתם, ספרו את הסיפור שלכם הכי טוב, הכי מעניין, הכי דרמטי, הכי מרגש, הכי סקסי, הכל בסדר. אבל בגבולות החוק, המוסר, האמת, היושרה, אם נתת כותרת כזו מפוצצת, ואז בפגישה השנייה מגלים שאין שם שום דבר מתחת, כל מה שאמרת לא באמת חשוב. אז התחלה אמצע בסוף לא בהכרח בסדר הזה, ופתיחה חזקה, ונקודת המבט של הקהל, ומסר אחד מזוקק, ולא להגזים, להיצמד לעובדות, פשוט להעצים אותם. אבל בסוף זה לא רק מה אתה אומר, זה גם איך אתה אומר. וראינו את זה עם כל הדוברים הנפלאים בערב הזה. בסוף זה כמה אתה מתלהב מהסיפור שלך, כמה לך בא עליו, כמה בא לך לספר אותו. וכשאנחנו מתלהבים, וכשזה בוער בנו, וכשזה מדליק אותנו, יש סיכוי לא רע שזה יגיע גם לצד השני. התלהבות זה דבר מדבק. אנחנו צריכים פשוט למצוא מה מלהיב אותי במפגש עם האדם הזה. אם כבר באתי לספר סיפור, אפילו אם זה סיפור ביבש כזה בעבודה, איזו הזדמנות יש כאן, איזה פוטנציאל. ולכן אני רוצה לסיים את 9 הדקות הקצרות האלה, במשפט מאוד יפה ששמעתי פעם. משפט שאומר שהופעה מול קהל היא קצת כמו שמיכה בחורף. צריך להסביר, אז אני אסביר. דמיינו ליל חורף קר. אתם נכנסים לחדר השינה. לילה. נכנסים מתחת לשמיכה. מי מחמם את מי לישון? אנחנו את השמיכה או השמיכה אותם?
So what do you think? We heard lots of stuff, right? Really a lot of things he was talking about. Usually when I teach my method, the one I'm going to share with you today, I spend 3 days with a group to teach people and to learn them and teach them and have them practice how to do everything that he's talking about here. So what is he talking about? First of all, he's talking about a very powerful enemy that every presenter has to overcome. And you know what that powerful enemy is? That powerful enemy is the audience, and the fact that the audience are human beings. And human beings were born and made not to listen. If you do nothing at all, to improve the retention of the information of the audience, if you do nothing at all, in all the experiments that are being done on this subject, and this subject is being researched a lot, there's a lot to learn from research, the retention rate is between 15 to 25%. I'll let you a second to absorb this fact. Between 15 to 25% of what you say is absorbed by the audience if you do nothing to help that statistic. This is a very powerful enemy. 75% at least of what the speakers say is total waste. It's not retained by the audience. Now, this is what we are working against. All of you either have done or will do presentations in the future. You have to remember that this is the enemy you have to overcome. And this is why I put it in such bold numbers. I don't want you to forget it. This is what we have to overcome and what we're up against. Now, coming back to the video we just watched, he was giving us a lot of tips what to do. Okay? And I summarized those tips for you. As I promised, I will come back to the video and I will summarize it for you. The first one, he says 1 plus 1. This is not in the correct order. I just took notes, same way that you did here, and then I put them in the list, not according to the order. He was talking about 1 plus 1 equals 2 in the minds of the audience. Okay? What does he mean by that? He means that the facts that you share with the audience have to build up into a story. Remember, he told you, tell a story. If you're not telling a story, you're wasting the audience's time. Okay? So how the story needs to work, a piece and another piece of information always have to add up. And when you add to the 2 another one, it has to be a 3. It cannot be 3 single pieces of information. It has to be one piece of information that adds on the top of the other, that adds on the top of the other, and this is how you build a story. Another thing that he said there is that it has to be from the audience's point of view. Okay? I want to share with you lots of stuff. I can quote research, but I have to talk in your language, something that will put it in your context, in your point of view. Otherwise, we don't connect. And we don't connect. If we don't connect, you're wasting your time, I'm wasting my time. Okay? So whatever a presenter has to do has to come from the audience's point of view. A third thing he was talking about, remember the story about the little article about the boy that fell from floor 4 to floor 3? He was talking about credibility. You have to come across as credible. What you are delivering, what you are giving, the information you are giving to the audience, they have to accept it as credible. If it's not credible, they will go to sleep. They will not listen. Remember that 15 to 25%. They're here physically, but they are gone mentally. He was talking about sticky messages. Again, why are those messages, why should they be sticky? Because if they're not sticky, it's another waste of time. Stickiness has to do with retention. If it's a sticky message, meaning it means something to you, you will make, or your brain will make a little bit of an effort to remember it, to retain it. If it's not sticky with you, forget it. He was talking about enthusiasm of the presenter. If you are not happy with your own story, why do you expect that the audience will be happy with the story? You have to show that what you're doing is actually meaningful not only to yourself, but you are convinced, meaning I am convinced, that what I'm sharing with you is good for you. Again, I'm saying the word audience. You will notice that by the time I'm done here, I will have said the word audience at least 100 times, okay? Because it's a key thing here. Everything comes back to the audience. Why? Because of this big enemy that I was talking about. Okay, this is how the audience is built. Returning warmth. He's talking about a relationship between the presenter and the audience. And there are techniques of how to build this relationship. He is talking about attention in 1 second. Remember at the beginning of the video, he was saying you have 1 second. When he demonstrated that this woman was talking about how her husband was cheating her with her best friend, they were setting the scene, making it a drama, a big drama. Why? To catch the attention in 1 second. But he was also talking about 90 seconds, okay? So we will talk a little bit more about what this 90 seconds is and what this 1 second is. Now, these are not all the rules he was talking about. He was talking about a lot more rules. So here they are. The opening statement is critical. I think we understand why. If you have to make this connection with the audience in the first few seconds, whether it's 1 or 90, we'll talk a little bit more about it. This is the opening statement. It has to stick with the audience. He was also talking about convincing the audience in the first 90 seconds that it's worth listening. And why is that? Because if you don't think that it's worth listening, you won't listen. You fall into this statistics of 75% of what's said is actually lost. He was talking about a start and middle and an end, and not necessarily chronological. Okay, so you have to think how to build your story. It's not just a timeline. And my method is going to show you how to do it. He was talking about attention deficit. And this is the same statistics I was mentioning before, right? What he was calling it an attention deficit. We all have this problem. Why? Because we are human beings. And he was saying one global message, right? The entire presentation has to have one global message. Of course, it's built up from pieces. And each of those pieces has to be a message or a sub-message itself. They all add up in a series. 1 + 1 = 2, + 1 = 3, and so forth. So this is what Dr. Noam Steinholtz was saying. And I want to take it back to us. Why do we present? Okay, when we present something, why do we present? We present to sell. Okay, what are we selling? We might be selling a product. We might be selling an idea. We might be selling a project or a proposal. But in any one of those situations, I would like you to think about selling yourself to the audience. Okay? Because if you don't think I know what I'm talking about, why would you buy this product from me? You wouldn't. We're talking about serious products, right? Products that startups usually produce or develop. If you don't think that I am a credible person, why would you buy those ideas from me? There are plenty of ideas out there from credible sources. Okay? So in every instance, when you present to an audience, you are in essence selling yourself. And the product, idea, project, proposal, those are the materials those are working materials. But you have to remember that in essence, you're selling yourself. So some of you may have some experience with presentations and you say, but I'm not always selling. Sometimes I'm doing a presentation and it's just a report. Or I'm just giving the status to somebody, or I'm doing a seminar like I'm doing here. I'm not selling anything. I'm selling this method, or a CEO is doing a company meeting. What is he selling? Again, I would ask you to think about it a little bit more, a little bit deeper. Even in those situations, the presenter is selling himself. Let's take a simple example. A CEO in a board meeting. Quarterly review. What is the CEO selling?
The company.
No, he's selling himself. Board of directors, please continue to support me as your CEO for this company. This is the underlying message. Now, if you think of board of directors members, this is always what they're thinking about, right? Is this the right person to manage this company? That's exactly what they're thinking about. So obviously, when you do a quarterly review to a board of directors, you need to think that at the same time that you are parting this information or sharing this information with your audience, you're selling yourself. Don't forget that every time the audience gives you the opportunity to talk to them, they respect you. You have to sell yourself to them. Okay? So this is why we present. We present to sell, and we're always selling ourselves, no matter what the content is. Now, Professor Steinholtz was talking, or Dr. Steinholtz was talking about this 90 seconds. And from my experience, I kind of try to summarize what is happening in those 90 seconds. And I like to divide it into 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and 90 seconds. Why? Because I think the presenter has about 3 chances in quotas of 30 seconds each to do what? To overcome these problems. If from the beginning the presenter starts talking to the audience, and from the beginning he's not clear. He's not clear. It's not easy to understand what he's saying. It's difficult to listen to this person. Or maybe he shared a fact, and it's difficult to remember that fact. If these things are happening, what does the audience or a member of the audience do? Their brain starts thinking, why am I here? I don't understand what this person, the first 30 seconds, I don't understand what this person is talking about. Will he ever get to something that might be of interest to me? You cannot stop it. It's the brain. This is how it works. So the person starts thinking, why am I here? And is he going to tell me what I'm supposed to do with everything that he's going to share with me? Am I wasting my time? So these things are starting to bubble in the brain of every one of the members of the audience. And if after 30 seconds these doubts surface, the presenter has another 30 seconds to correct it. And perhaps another 30 seconds to correct it. But if after 90 seconds these doubts remain, you can be guaranteed that the audience is lost. Okay? The audience may be physically here, but they're sleeping. And if they're not sleeping with their eyes closed, their brain is sleeping. Why? Because everybody is a busy person, and you have lots to think about. So you're thinking about your own stuff, and you're not listening. Okay? So this first 90 seconds is a mini story inside the story. It's the introduction that gives the presenter the opportunity to connect with the audience, to open their mind, okay, so that they will listen to the rest of it. He was talking about the blanket at the end of his video, right? He was talking about the blanket. You give them 10 minutes, the blanket 10 minutes, and it gives you back a full night of warmth, of relationship. That's the thing I'm talking about here. So those 30-second chunks are building up this connection, this relationship. And if it's not done in 90 seconds, forget it. As he said, it's no longer relevant. You remember he said it? He said, if you are not doing it, if you don't convince them to listen to you in the first 90 seconds, everything you say later is completely irrelevant because they don't listen. So I like to read about this topic because I'm passionate about the topic, because communication is what managers do all the time. So I want this communication in all of its formats to be both effective and efficient. Why? Because the work that you do has to be effective, meaning to get the results that you intend to get, and efficient, meaning to do it with the limited resources that you have. So I read about this topic, and what do I find? I find a very interesting gentleman who he and his team discovered about 15 years ago a chemical, a neurochemical that every one of us is generating, and we'll mention that neurochemical again. But the conclusion of the articles, if you listen to him, he's available on YouTube, TED Talks, whatever. I'll mention his name in a moment. You can see that it's not a matter of experience. Because of experience, we're doing it. We know it works. It's actually the biology of the brain. The brain loves a good story. And what happens when the brain listens to a good story? The word good is very important here. A good story is a story that sticks, that the audience is interested in. What happens is that the brain is generating oxytocin. That is the neurochemical that we're generating. And this oxytocin is found to be associated with attitudes, with beliefs, and with behaviors. Now, what are these three words, if not the essence of a relationship? So if we build the presentation in a story format, we are helping the audience to generate this oxytocin, and the more we do it, this is the article, by the way, which I recommend for you to read. It's from Harvard Business Review, Why Your Brain Loves Good Storytelling, and the professor is Paul Zak. And he continues to teach that, and there's more and more findings in his area of research. Very interesting gentleman, a good speaker, worth listening to. So if we want the presentation to be effective, meaning to get the result that we intend that it will get, what is the result that we intend that it will get? I couldn't hear. Not attention. Why do we do presentations? Sell.
Excite.
You want the audience to change their behavior. You want them to act on what you're telling them, right? This is why you're doing a presentation. You sell yourself, but at the end, you want the audience to do something, to act. An effective presentation is a presentation that makes the audience act in a way you want them to act. Okay? So we already are convinced, I hope, that story, the format of a story, something that's 1 + 1 = 2, and then another layer and another layer and another layer, a story is the format that will generate a relationship, and the relationship is generated because of the oxytocin in our brain, and this will make the presentation effective. Why? Because the more oxytocin, the more the audience is likely to do what you're asking them to do. So it's like a cycle. Obviously, if they do what you ask them to do, the relationship is strengthened. And if the relationship is stronger, they will do even more what you ask them to do. So it's like a vicious cycle that builds up with this wonderful oxytocin in our brain. So what is an effective story? An effective story has a message. Very important the way we deliver it, meaning the audience is willing to listen to us, is with us all the time along that story, okay? Doesn't go to sleep. So the delivery part is very important. The audience retains the information, and eventually they act upon it. That's a good story. My method, I promise you that my method works. Okay? I also told you that it's not my method originally. I just refined it and practiced it a lot with myself and a lot of people. By now, hundreds and hundreds of people. This method has 4 components. The first component is audience. Why? Because this entire method is built on starting from the audience, not starting from the speaker. Now, I guarantee 99%, if not worse, of the presentations that you will see in your life or in the next few years, let's put it this way, the presentation is done from the point of view of the presenter. I have lots of information, and I want to share it with my audience. And those presentations don't think about what the audience might want to listen to. We have to reverse it and to start with the audience. This is why the first component here is audience. The second component of this method is content. What kind of content do I share? The presenter shares with the audience. And the flow of the content. What is the order? Basically the story. What is the story? Content and flow. Right? Then there's a third component, which is the format of the slides. Now, those of you who are going to leave here early will not get to see even a part of this because it comes at the end of my presentation. But I recommend to you, come back to this slide. Okay, it's only one slide. Okay, come back to it through the recording and take a look at it, because that's the easiest thing to change. And the return on this change is like a little change and this value. Okay, so I recommend to you to come back to it. The rest of you will have to be patient. I will get there. And the fourth component of the method is the presenter's behaviors. Now, I put it in parentheses because we are not going to have time to do it in a seminar like that. This takes a day because it requires a lot of practice. So these are the four components. As I try to put a symbol there that shows that those pieces are working together. It's not like one piece is independent of the other. When you think about the audience, you also think about the content, the flow, and all of that. They're working together. So that's why I use this symbol. Now, if you use the method, you'll end up with a presentation that looks like this. Now, what do you think? I think it's a perfect presentation. Have you noticed the little corn seeds that are sprinkled on top? Do you think they add any taste to this dish? It's just decoration. Why? Because the chef who designed this dish, he looked at it and you know what? He said everything are big pieces. I need something, some little things kind of to sprinkle on top to perfect the image. You look at this image, wouldn't you want to eat it? I know it's not kosher, but wouldn't you want to eat it? It's so perfect. The design is perfect. The presentation is not just the taste. I'm sure the taste is great. Why? Because I look at the presentation and I'm fully convinced it's layered. It starts with a wide base and it goes like a pyramid. All of those things are not by accident. Even this little piece here is not by accident. It's like flower arrangements. Everything is designed to the last millimeter on the dish. So if you use my presentation method, you'll get presentations that are as good as this. So coming back to the menu, the four components, because I started this seminar with the video from Professor Steinholtz, and he was talking about story. Story is content and flow. I'm going to start with this component. Okay? Content and flow. How do we select the content that we share with the audience from everything that we know and we want to tell them? And how we organize it. So believe it or not, all presentations that I've seen, and I've seen lots, conform to this structure. It's a generic structure, flow chart. All presentations conform to this structure. Now, what is this structure? I took here an example of an advertisement. Okay? What is this advertisement about? Huggies. About diapers. Okay? Now, this is not the advertisement. This is the designer of the advertisement creating a storyboard to give to the people who are going to produce a video. So what is he telling, the designer of the advertisement, what is he telling to the video producers? He is telling them, you are going to videotape a story. In the first scene, you are going to show a nice neighborhood, a nice American suburban neighborhood. We know it's nice because there's a man walking a dog, and we want the audience immediately to know that we're talking about Huggies, about diapers. So the van that comes into the picture takes about half of the picture. You noticed it? It's not a coincidence, okay? We want the audience from the first shot. Remember Dr. Steinholtz? From the first shot to know we're talking about Huggies, okay? Now we're going into the house and we see a young and happy family with a triplet. So we know they're busy How do we know they're busy? Because they have a nice house. So they must be working, both of them. And they have triplets. Wow, they're busy. Now triplets, like the speck on the teeth, right? Triplets, diapers, of course, the connection is right there. Notice in the third scene, we see the parents taking care of the babies. A little notice that I paid attention to, I don't know if you did too, is that the woman takes care of 2 babies and the man takes care of only 1. No coincidence here, because that's the reality of the people. You know, this is not politically correct here. That's the reality of the people who are the subjects or the targets of this advertisement. And then daddy takes a baby, and daddy is a very good daddy because he is taking all the safety precautions. He's not changing the diaper on the carpet. He's putting the baby in a safety crib. And of course he uses Huggies, and there's Zoom on Huggies, and then he's happy with the result, the baby is happy with the result, and because he's daddy, he's also showing off the result of his work. So what is it? We know that this video that's going to be played on TV as an advertisement for Huggies is going to have 8 scenes, because the designer of the advertisement created a storyboard. Now what is this? This is a storyboard for business. Okay? We are going to create all of our presentations based on this structure. And the first one is the title. Okay? In most presentations that you see, notice it. From now on, you will notice it. The first slide says nothing. It's so boring that the presenters usually, as they turn on the presentation, they click and they move to the second slide. But according to this method, you see that number 1 is very important. And I'm saying probably the most important, and you should be convinced because you know that the opening statement is the one that decides whether the audience will listen or not. This is why it's so important. It's not there to click and go to the second one. It's the one that if the presenter works with the slide, as the presenter should, okay, is the most important slide in the entire presentation. It's those 30, 60, 90 seconds, all accompanied by this first slide. So the purpose of the first slide is to open the attention. We understand that, right? We know that we start understanding the audience first by doing a profile on them. Who are they? What are their preoccupations? What are they thinking about when they come into the room? And what is it that will wake them up from their thoughts? Okay? Without knowing these things, you shouldn't even start planning your presentation. You have to understand these things. This is like homework. You have to do the homework before you even think about how you're going to build the story. You have to understand your target audience. And once you understand your target audience, you want to build the shortest bridge, this relationship I was talking about, from you, from what you want to convince them, to them. The shortest bridge. It shouldn't be, you know, remember he was demonstrating it very, very well on the video. You know, I met my husband 8 years ago, and that. By the time she gets to the point, the audience is gone. So it's important that the bridge of the first slide is the shortest bridge to the audience's preoccupation profile and so forth. You need to think psychology. You don't need to think technology or product or idea or project. You need to think about the psychology of your audience before you design what you're going to put on the first slide. Okay?
Put or say?
Put and tell a story. Okay, I'll demonstrate it, okay? You put something on the first slide and you tell a little story, a sub-story that starts building your story, okay? Now, the easiest way to think about what is it that I want to put on the first slide is this word, promise. Promise something to the audience. Promise them something. If I promise you something, did I promise you something when we started? What did I promise you? That this will be the best you've ever seen. And that you will want to use it. I promised this to you. I haven't proven anything yet. I'm just babbling here. I haven't proven anything, but I did promise it to you. Why? Because I knew that this is, you knew what the subject of this seminar is, right? It was advertised, you knew. But I stood here and I emphasized the word most. And I even showed you how enthusiastic I am with this word. Okay? So think about how to make a promise to your audience. And I'm going to demonstrate this to you here. The examples I'm going to use here, and I apologize, Shani. Benny gave me permission. Benny left. Where is he? He gave me permission a few months ago. I asked him if I could do it, and he said, by all means. So the Drive Academy or the Drive program or whatever they're called, Benny sent me a presentation about 6 months ago about the program. What is this program? I looked at this presentation, and you will do it together with me as we finish here. And I said, wow, this is what I was looking for. The perfect example to show what not to do. So, because it was so ripe, so good, I'm going to use this here, and we are going to change it according to the rules that I'm trying to teach you, okay? So the presentation that I'm going to use here, for example, is the presentation of the Drive program, the Technion Accelerator Drive program. And this is a presentation to investors. How do I know? Because I went all the way to the end and I saw a slide that said, be an investor. Okay, so this is a presentation to investors that Benny or anybody working for the Drive program is trying to convince people to invest in this program. Okay? And it's also meant for prospective startups. I'm not sure how exactly, because it said in the presentation partners, strategic partners, and I wasn't sure what the strategic partners are. We are going to focus here, for the purpose of this seminar, on investors. Okay, so from time to time when I demonstrate something, I'm going to talk to you as if you are the investors. Okay? So here is the first slide of this presentation. Let's take a look. What do we see? We see a professor who's standing with his back to his audience, very short hands, because I have no idea how he drew all the way up to here. Lots of symbols. Do you see that? Lots of symbols, lots of concepts. And what does the title say? The title says the Technion Accelerator. Are we going to put the Technion on wheels and accelerate with an engine? What is the Technion Accelerator? Remember, you are investors. Does it make you want to listen to the story?
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. But other than beautiful, and I'll come back to the beauty of this thing, other than being beautiful, it's just a decoration. It doesn't do any purpose. Now, let's say I'm Benny and I'm talking to investors and I want to convince you to invest in the program. And by now you know I need to start building a story. And the beginning needs to make you want to listen to me. So I'm going to tell you a few things, but I cannot tell you the things I want to tell you. Why? Because there's a disruption here. Let's say I'm going to tell you the correct story. But you, as my audience, are going to have a very difficult time listening to me. Why? Because there's entertainment here. It's beautiful, lots of details, you will struggle between listening to me and trying to understand what's on the board. This entire thing is a disruptor to me, the speaker. It doesn't help me, it disrupts me. Okay? Not only that, the most important things here, what is he selling? What are his assets? His academic Technion is his asset, the brand of the Technion. Look how small and insignificant it is here. Okay, you're investors. You're here because it's Technion. Shouldn't you remind you that, hey, you're here because it's Technion, and Technion is a lot of value to you. We can do questions later, okay, because it's being recorded. So here I'm taking this and I say, I want to create a promise to you, the investors, using the same type of material. And I'm saying, this thing did not consider the audience's profile, did not do it. Did it consider the audience's preoccupations? Absolutely not. What are the preoccupations of investors? I'll tell you one fact. 1 out of 20 startups is a successful startup, a successful company. That's the preoccupation of investors. That's the first thing they're thinking about all the time, all the time. Should I invest in you? You're 1 of 20. Should I invest in you? So remember this 15 to 25%. Should they even listen to the program? The slide that we saw is not doing any of that. It's not addressing their preoccupation. It's not going to help the presenter wake them up. Quite the contrary, it's competing with the presenter on the attention of the audience. Okay? So definitely there's no short bridge between the presenter to the audience. There's no psychology of the audience, and there's no promise. So the investors and the strategic partners already starting to think, why should I listen? So here is what I suggest, okay? It's not the perfect one. If I worked with the team here, we could have come with a perfect one. But what I will do is, first of all, take out the graphs, the graphics, because it's noise. It's beautiful, but it's noise. Highlight the fact, and if I could graphically do it really with stronger color, I would do it. It's just that I'm not very good with PowerPoint. So it stayed so gray, but it should be bolder. Technion is the biggest asset. So now I can tell you a story. You know, my audience, investors, we know that you're investing in a lot of companies, and you're investing in a lot of incubators. Now the Technion has 2 branches that are focused entirely on startups and innovation. One of them is the R&D Foundation, and the other one is the T3. This is the office that I am representing here. And we decided to get together. And because we're thinking not only innovation, we're thinking business, we are doing a program here which is unique. And the entire purpose of this program is to accelerate the success of startups. You notice what I did here? I was talking to the success, the 1 out of 20. This is the psychology of the audience. Okay? Here is a bridge. From me, I created a program. I have parents that are very powerful, Technion and Technion. I highlight them. And I'm creating a bridge to the audience because I'm thinking about their psychology. Okay? I agree with you. This one is prettier. But with this one, I couldn't tell this story because they would have to look for the parents right here. You know, so insignificant. And their brains all the time are busy deciphering this. It's prettier, but it doesn't serve the purpose. So this is my choice, at least with what I was able to work, to start the story by creating the shortest bridge to the audience. So this is slide number 1. I'll give you a few more examples in a moment. All I wanted is to come back to that diagram and to show you that this is the title slide, and it is in the format of a promise. So let's take a look at a few other examples. Okay, the first one, what was I selling? What was I selling in the first one? So let me tell you the story. Here was a technology company. They created a medical device for cosmetic purposes. Who are they selling it to? To beauty salons or to companies who sell equipment to beauty salons, right? Now they could put in the first slide, we have the latest laser that shoots to the moon and straight to the face, something like that. But is it creating a bridge to the audience? No, the audience is thinking, how am I going to improve the business of a beauty salon? So what I'm telling them, you know what? I have this new gadget, and with this one, you will get high profile, high class, upper class clientele. These are the clients with money. They will pay. So here I'm making a promise to the audience, listen to me, listen about the wonderful gadget that I have here because it's going to bring you business. But I'm not going to tell them it's going to bring you business, it's too blunt. I am going to tell them it's going to get you the clients that you want, the upper class clients. Okay? The other two examples are situations where generally it's boring. Okay? The second example is from a board meeting. Here is a CEO, and he is doing a quarterly review to his board. Now, the quarterly review, he is a happy CEO. Why is he a happy CEO? Because he just finished a wonderful quarter. And not only that, his story is even better. Because he already knows that the next quarter is going to be even better. Okay? Most quarterly review presentations start with a slide that says what? Q4 review. Okay? Is this a bridge? Is this going to wake up the audience? There's nothing more boring than Q4 review. Now this CEO has a wonderful story to tell. Start building the story. Say, strong momentum Q over Q. Okay, now I'm getting my audience excited. I just finished a wonderful quarter and the next one is even better. And the rest of the presentation, I'm going to show you how we did it and how we're going to do it. Okay, you see how this starts a story and the previous option does not. Now, not all CEOs are happy CEOs. Actually, most of them are not so happy. Why? Because their results are not so great. Now, again, it's a board meeting, and the presenter, the CEO, wants to convince the board of what? That he can be trusted with this company, that he knows what he's doing, that he's controlling, that he's in control of the situation. So this not so happy CEO, what is he saying? He's saying, my recovery program is working. You see, I took a negative situation and I remembered that I need to sell myself to this audience, my board. What am I going to tell them? Q4 review was lousy? No, I'm going to tell them I'm in control. My recovery program is working. And the rest of the presentation, I'll show you the results of the actions that we took and the ones that we plan to take. Okay, so here are some additional examples of what to do with the first slide. First slide is a promise. Now, what's the problem with a promise? Any promise.
It has to be kept.
It has to be kept. You know this phrase, promises, promises? You know, a promise is always suspicious because it might be an empty promise, right? So you cannot leave a promise in the air like my little thing is going to bring you excellent upper-class clientele. Melania herself is going to come to your salon. I cannot leave this promise without some evidence, without making it a reality to my audience. Okay? And how do you do it? You resolve the promise. You resolve the suspicion that's embedded inside the promise. And how do you do it? Basically, you need to take the promise and put it in a frame and the focus of the reality of your audience. You made a promise, you put it in the reality of your audience, and then they start believing that it's possible. They're not believing yet that it is true, but they are believing that it's possible. So the promise is no longer a vacant promise up in the air. It's something that belongs to their reality. So this is also a slide from the presentation that they had. And I said, okay, this is the first one that I could say it somewhat answers the question, but can I explain this slide to you? No way. No way. It's impossible to tell you a mini story with this being here. Again, your brain will start competing, listening to her or trying to understand what the slide is doing. So what I did, I said, let's simplify. Now, I promise you that nothing here is new. Everything here is from the previous slide. Everything. I just cleaned it up. And I took the main messages, said, now I can talk. I can tell you that the combination that we have here is a unique value to investors. It's unique. You are now my investors, right? It's unique. It's not every incubator can do it. This combination is unique. Why? Because if you look at the left, we are bringing the startup environment of the entire state of Israel. Now, you are investors. You've heard that Israel is like a hotbed for startups, right? You've heard this. So when we put the might of Israel in the startup ideas into our program, we make this environment work for you. Now look at the right-hand side. At the right-hand side, it's not just Israel, but you know that more than half of the Israel startup environment is actually Technion startup environment. So we take the two and we make it work for you in a program that we call it a Startup Success Accelerator, because we know that the success of the startups is not guaranteed, and we want to accelerate, to increase the chances of this being successful. So we add to it our capabilities and our experience, and we have a program that it is unique. Could I have done this story with this? No way. With this? Yes. Okay? Now you can see very clearly, I just cleaned it up and make it work for me as a presenter to you. So this is the resolution of the promise. Okay? I promised something and I made it a reality for you. Now, a promise is still a promise. I put it in your reality, but it's still just a promise. I haven't proven anything yet. So the next stage in the storytelling is to prove what I promised. And the proof is where we put all the details. You know, we have lots of details, lots of data to share with our audience, and we do it in 3 stages. Stage 3, stage 4, stage 5. So what do we do in stage 3? Stage 3, we just put a list of value propositions. Now, when we talk about value, it's always value to the audience. Otherwise, it's not value. It's not the value to me. It's the value to the audience. So we make a list of value propositions, and then I will show you what we do in steps 4 and 5. So the value propositions are value statements. It is in the audience's language, as by now you should be convinced. It's a short menu, no more than 5 items, but it's better that there are 3. And what kind of language do you use? What is a value statement? A value statement is always something that's either going to increase your business or save costs. And if it saves costs, it increases the profitability, right? So this is stage 3. And in our situation, in our example, remember we said that this is a unique investor value. We showed this diagram. And then we say, what are the things that I'm going to share with you that are going to prove to you that this is a unique value? So 3 things. Israel is a startup nation. Technion has a record. It's not a new institution. It has a wonderful record. In what? Innovation, in worldwide leadership, in creating business. Is not just technology and innovation. It actually creates business and thinks business. So we take all of that, we put it in a powerful program that has all the components in it. So this was 3. What do we do in 4? We take every one of those and we start giving the evidence. Okay? So let's take a look. This was a slide from the original presentation. Again, the same problem. You see, it's loaded. Did you know that Warren Buffett is on this slide? Warren Buffett is here. Here he is. Okay? Look how many new symbols we have to learn. New colors. All of this is noise. Here is a book, Startup Nation. All of this is noise. We really can't even tell a story. I cannot stand here and take you through this slide. It is working against me, not with me. So what did I do? I took everything that was there and translated it into a slide that can work. So the first thing that you will notice is that in the map, I cleaned it up. Okay, here it's at the north, Haifa, Atlit, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Beersheba. Why do we need those names? Clean it up. Okay? If you clean it up, you have more space. You can put what's really important. Make it a little bigger. Put IBM so that everybody sees it. Put EMC so that everybody sees it, and so forth. Okay? Make the important thing shine and eliminate everything that's not important. Now, all these words that were there with the diagram, the symbols, this is what it says. Warren Buffett is saying that Israel is an investment hub. You're investors. Warren Buffett is also an investor. If he's saying it, of course you're convinced that Israel is an investment hub. You know, Israel is one of those countries that is number 1 in R&D investment. R&D investment in Israel is 4.3% of GDP, the highest in the world. You didn't know that. I didn't know that either. I learned it from their presentation. Okay? It's not only us that know that. The biggest companies in the world, 300 of them, global tech companies, have presence in Israel. They're fighting to take pieces of this little map. And you know how big Israel is, right? Everyone wants to stick a needle. 300 global technology companies have presence in Israel. Let's leave Israel and go to New York, NASDAQ. You know, the number 1 country represented in NASDAQ listed companies is the US, of course. Number 2 is China. But look who's number 3. Isn't this amazing? This little country is number 3 in companies listed on NASDAQ after China, second economy of the world. And Israel is definitely not the third economy of the world. Okay? And the other thing that's very important to prove the point that it's a startup nation, the percentage of engineers in the population is number 1 in the world. Interesting fact. I learned it from their presentation. Okay, but you can see that I can work with this slide, and I could definitely not tell you these facts, because they're all here, by the way. They're all here. Okay, but if you really need to explore this slide, it's impossible. And it makes the life of the presenter horrible. It's very tough, very, very tough. So this is the one that I choose. Coming back to the menu, we spoke about Startup Nation. Now we're going to Technion Record. In what? In innovation, leadership, worldwide leadership, and business. So again, I took the very busy slides and gleaned the information that's really important to build up the story and made short versions. Okay? So Technion Innovation, Nobel laureates. By the way, in the original slide, it said 3. Will I put 3 there? No, it makes this fact a little small. Only 3? But I can say, you know what? We have Nobel laureates here. Why do I have to mention 3? 3 belittles it. Okay? We achieved top rankings everywhere in engineering, in computer science, innovation, entrepreneurship. Ask Bloomberg, ask MIT, ask China. They all have surveys that rank institutions, and we always appear in the top rankings. By the way, in the original, it said, here we're number 18, here we're number 23, here we're number... All of these facts are just diluting the message. The message is that we are always in the top ranking. So let's say that. Take a look at these huge companies. Apple, Microsoft, Intel, they all have executives all the way to the top that are Technion graduates. Okay? And more. I just picked up 3. And so forth and so forth. Okay? Technion Worldwide Tech Leadership. Bloomberg is ranking us number 7 in top CEOs. Now, Bloomberg was surveying 250 CEOs of companies that are larger than $1 billion in revenue. So these are the large companies. And we are number 7 in CEOs of these companies. The Technion, not Israel. Israel is probably bigger than that. Over the last 20 years, companies that were founded by Technion people, graduates, faculty, researchers, they were able to get investments of $6.4 billion. But look what happened to the investors. I'm talking to you investors, right? Look what happened to the investors with their $6.4 billion. These companies, when they were acquired or merged, the total value of these companies was $28 billion. So 6.4 converted into 28. Okay? Now, all of this information, all of these facts were like this. No message, no story. I had to really work hard finding this and creating a little story out of it. And the last one, Technion is not just technology. It's generating real business. In 20 years, look at this, 1,600 companies were generated by Technion people. 100,000 jobs in Israel from this. And overall, 30 billion in revenue and all of that, okay? All of this information was spread all over the place in the presentation that you will see later. So we did the Startup Nation, we did the Technion Record, now we talk about the program. Here's the slide that talks about the program. You see the problem again. It's a very busy slide, lots of colors, new symbols. Okay, we have to learn a new language. Every time we see symbols, okay, what do these little people mean? Oh, there's a new symbol there. What is this? It's not an Apple screen, it's a different screen. It's interesting that they were, or maybe it's a microscope. You see, this is what the audience is doing when they're not listening to the speaker. So again, I did the same trick. I took the important information and I put it into a slide. You see, it's not pretty. There's no graphics here. Because graphics is not always helping. Sometimes it's actually a disruption. So you see how I created the evidence in my slides. Basically, I took all the evidence, but what was the evidence made of? What is the material? The material are facts, numbers, lots of facts and numbers you've seen, okay? Supporting points, benchmarks. We are ranking here, we are ranking here. It's always compared to somebody else, right? We are number 3 after US and China. That's benchmarking, when you put yourself compared to somebody else. References, Warren Buffett. He's an investor like you. Okay, so he's a reference. He thinks he should invest in Israel, and he's doing it. You should too. Okay, that's a reference. Arguments, analogies. Analogies is when you say, if it worked there, it should work here too. Okay, that's an analogy. Use schematics, but very simple schematics. Okay, don't use complex schematics. Schematics are good because a picture is worth 1,000 words. But if you make it too complex, it competes with you on the attention of the audience. And few words. Notice my bullets. My bullets are never sentences. You notice that? They're never sentences. Here's a bullet. Supporting point. Benchmark. References. Most of my bullets here are one word. Why? Because I want you to listen to me. So when I say few words, where are your eyes? Your eyes are here. Because I just said what's here. Your eyes are not wandering all over because I already said all of that. Okay? So I'm working with the slide. I'm saying something and I'm forcing you to follow according to what the slide is saying. And like Dr. Feinholz said, messages. But I'm saying message per slide. A slide should not have too many messages on it. And the message is usually on the top. Okay? I'm saying here, this slide, all of it is evidence material. That's the message. If you want to find evidence material, use these things. So what happened with our story? Our story went from promise to making the audience believe the promise is possible. We put it in their reality. And then we started proving by putting the value propositions. And for each of those value propositions, we started giving evidence. But what happened to the storyline? It went from 1 to 2 to 3, and now it's breaking to branches. 4-1, 4-2, 4-3, and so forth. So what can happen to the audience when it's not 1 and 1 and 1, it's just starting to do this? The audience might lose the storyline. So what is your job as a presenter? Wrap it up. After you broke it into branches, you summarize it again in step number 5. The summary restates the value. Remember, we have to show them the complete picture. It's the 3rd time we're telling them the same story. You notice that? Because we said, here's the value proposition. You will believe me because Startup Nation, Startup Technion, okay, and the best program. You will believe me because of that. Now I'm going to show you numbers for each of those. So I'm telling you the same story again. And now I'm summarizing it. I'm telling it the 3rd time. This is a technique that we use to overcome this 15 to 25% enemy. Okay? Repeat the story. Each time a different version. By that time, I provided evidence, lots of data. The credibility should be established. Now, if you are worried as a presenter that the credibility has not been established, this is the time to pause and talk to the audience to make sure that, yeah, they're with you. They understand the story, they believe you, and so forth. Okay? So in our case, all I did, I took the same value proposition statement and I just replaced the bullet with check marks. Okay? But if I were doing this presentation, I would repeat the story. I showed you that Israel is a startup nation, and even Warren Buffett thinks that. I showed you the Technion record, and I showed you that my program is unique. It has all the components, and it's unique for you, the investors. So this is the summary. So what's left? We told the story, we summarized it, what's left?
Yes.
The action. Never leave it to the audience to figure it out by themselves. Tell them what you want them to do. Just tell them. Make it very clear. Now the call to action could be, talk about the next steps. Call to action could be, let's do a trial. Okay? You are selling them a new product. You want them to accept a trial. Let's say you are talking to low-level people. You know they cannot make the decision. But this is your audience. So what do you want from them? You want them to take you to the higher level that can make the decision. Okay? So you ask something like that. Who else needs to be involved? Or if you're doing a board meeting, you finish the board meeting, you ensure that everybody is happy, and you're saying, what, you know you're meeting them again in 3 months. What are your expectations for the next review meeting? And an action list. Obviously, if it's a meeting about a project, you finish it with an action list. So here is what we had in that presentation. Okay, become an investor, and here's the investment strategy. Again, the same problem. You see words, sentences that start here and finish here. No, these should be short bullets like this. Okay? Same information that was there in long sentences, in a presentation, it should look like that. Okay? If you become, this is an investment opportunity to you, if you become an investor in the Drive program, we start at 5% warrants, and as soon as there is a Series A round of investment in a company that you gave a loan to, your loan will convert into real shares at a discount. So this is your advantage of going in now, because Series A investors will pay a price, you will pay 20% less for your shares. And of course, like all investors, they want a bigger piece of the pie if it's a success story. So you will have an opportunity later to invest $100,000 and increase even 10% more of your share in the company upon milestones of this and that. Okay? Again, I took everything that was there in that previous slide and extracted the most important information. So here it is, a full story, starting with a promise and finished with a call to action. Coming back to my presentation method, I told you it had 4 components. We were talking about content and flow, creating what content and in which order to put it together. But we also touched a little bit the audience, because as we were selecting what content to put in there, we always said, let's see what the audience might want to listen to. And this is how we selected the content. So this is why I put an arrow, but it's a lighter blue arrow because I haven't covered everything there is to cover in this method on audience. The big chapter that we're missing here is how to manage an audience. Okay? Because you have an event, you're a presenter, the audience is your audience, you have to manage them. And all of that we haven't touched today. Okay, so this is why this arrow is a lighter blue arrow. The one more component I want to cover is format of slides. Okay? Now here I'm going to give you a set of rules. Okay? It's one slide with 2 columns, a set of rules. I'll explain those rules, and then we'll see examples, and we'll critique them together. Okay? So the first rule is less than 7. Less than 7 what? 7 elements. What is an element? A bullet is an element. A circle that means something is an element. The title of the slide is an element. A slide should never have more than 7 elements on it. Take a look at this slide. How many elements do I have?
About 8.
7.5, I'd say. Okay? Because you have a title, that's 1. You have 6 bullets, that's 7. But there's a sub-bullet. Okay? So it's about 7.5. So I'm already violating my own rule. Okay? So no more than 7. Bullets have to be short. You understand why? Because if the audience needs to read the bullet, when they read the bullet, they are not listening. All the bullet has to have is a few words that will help the audience follow what the speaker is saying. Okay? Not a full sentence. First thing you do is you look for the verbs and you cut them out. No verbs. These are not sentences. Okay? Simple schematics. I said it before. Use schematics, but simple. Don't use complex schematics because it's very difficult to explain. Next one, symbols. Use only known symbols. If you're talking about cloud technology, put a cloud that looks like this. Everybody knows this. Okay? You don't need to teach them a new language. Symbols are a language. So use only the ones that everybody knows. Wireless, like this. Strength of internet, like this. Okay? These are the symbols that everybody recognizes, so they don't become a disruption. But if you are creative, or you go to your creative studio and they create new symbols for you because they like to be creative, they're actually doing you a very bad service. Very, very bad service. Okay? Another rule, illustrations. If, let's say you're in a board meeting, you have to present a spreadsheet. That's the illustration. Now, a spreadsheet has a million facts in it, okay? Like lots of facts. But you don't want you have to present it because the audience expects you to show them a spreadsheet, the results of the quarter or something like that. So what do? Basically, you highlight on the spreadsheet those 3 or 4 points that you want them to pay attention to. And then the entire spreadsheet becomes a background. Okay? So when you have to use an illustration, ask yourself, what is the story that this illustration is telling, and put little circles or arrows to force the audience to look where you want them to look and not to wander around all the numbers that are on the illustration. What do you think my rule is regarding animation? Exactly, no animation is the rule. Why? For the same psychology. If I have things moving here, will you be able to listen to me? No way. All the research says that you will not listen to me if there are things moving here. So all these people who like Pac-Mans and to, moving things and it's beautiful. But it works against you instead of helping you. More rules. Every slide should have a key message. 1 message per slide. I say words, pictures, and experience. What is the point here? We're using words. We already know the phrase that a picture is worth 1,000 words. But I like to extend this phrase and to say that an experience is worth 1,000 pictures. And so how do you create an experience when you present? First thing that we did when I started, I asked you to watch a video, but what did I ask you to do? to take notes. So now it's an experience for you. I didn't even ask for what you wrote on the notes, but I forced you to live an experience instead of just watching a video. One of the slides that I presented to you in the name of the Drive program, I said, look at the left, Israel Startup Nation. Look at the right, technology. What did I do? I forced you to live an experience because your eyes were following what I was telling you to do. So these are the techniques that you use in order to create an experience. An experience is stronger than pictures. Pictures are stronger than words. Colors. Use colors, but very few colors. Okay? A presentation is not a kaleidoscope. Doesn't need to have all the colors in the world. Choose pleasant colors. Don't put yellow on black. You know that, right? Never do that. It hurts the eyes. If you want to use red, use Bordeaux, because red hurts the eyes. So pleasant colors. Consistent colors. If you use orange to represent Q1, throughout your presentation, from the beginning to the end, orange is associated with Q1. You're not changing the colors. Okay? Why? Because a color palette is another language. It's like symbols. Once you associate a concept with a color, stick with it. And don't change it throughout the presentation. And use few colors. Templates. Most presentations use templates. People love templates. It's their creative soul. You see what kind of template I like?
No.
Here it is.
Black.
A white sheet. Why? Because everything that you put on a slide is a disruption. Remember the enemy. Only 15 to 25% of what I say you will retain. Unless I help you do better. And everything that I can put here as decoration is actually a disruption. Now this is a big fight. You know, when I go and I say these things to CEOs, they are so in love with their templates. They spend days perfecting the template. And then I tell them, throw it away. It works against you. Of course, it's a lost battle. The best I can get from them is to take the template and fade it a little bit. Do it in lighter colors. Honestly, but I'm against templates. Narrow versus wide. You saw that all of my bullets are in a narrow format. Never like this. First of all, because they have to be short. But you notice that newspapers are printed in columns? Even magazines, right? Newsweek or something like that is printed in columns. You know why? It's easier to read. If the audience, your audience, needs to go from left to right, reading something on the slide, when they're doing that, they're not listening. Okay? Not with their eyes and not with their face. Okay? Narrow is always better. And the last one is no skipping. Never put a slide in the slide deck that you might not present, because it's very annoying to the audience. Okay? What was there in that slide that he just skipped? Okay? They're not listening. They're thinking about that. So don't do that. So now we've seen the rules for slides, and I took the rest of the presentation is the original slide deck of the Drive Accelerator program that Benny allowed me to use as an example. Remember those rules, and let's go quickly, one by one, and help me. Of course I will help you, but help me pick out what's wrong in these pictures. Okay, so here's the presentation. We already spoke about that. Okay, it's a busy slide, too many symbols. Remember I said few symbols, consistent symbols that everybody knows. Lots of symbols. This graphic is beautiful, but it has nothing to do with the message, with the promise to the audience. And we also saw the problem here with the words. We also saw the problem that these are so faded, they're so small. And these are the biggest assets that you have. Technion, highlight them, okay? So you saw the example of what I propose to do with a slide like that. Now we also saw this one. Okay? Again, the same problem. Symbols. Warren Buffett is somewhere here. Look how small Warren Buffett is. Have you ever listened to this guy? He's big. He's impressive. Just his name. You don't even need to listen to him. Just his name. Okay? This is way too busy. Works against the presenter. Too many words. Too many facts. The important facts are too small. The not important facts, Tel Aviv region, Haifa region, northern region, every time I see the same word repeated, region, I know it's not necessary. Okay? And these symbols are completely redundant, and you saw what I did with this slide. Same problem here. New symbols, more symbols. What value do they add? No value. How many words? 1,000,000 words. How many facts that are not important, that are diluting the message? Remember I told you? Number 8 in computer science, number 18, number 25, top 25. The message is that we're always high. All of these little facts are just diluting the message. Instead of highlighting the message, they are diluting the message. And all of these names. Just saying we're in the top ranks of these big companies. You think Johnny Sruji is important? No, it's not. It's not. Just saying we have lots of big names up there. Okay? Same problem. Again, new symbols. Look at this. Can you see the reaction that I got when I saw it first? Are you having the same reaction? That is the question. Okay? Way overloaded. The old Technion building is here. If I see this slide, I'm focused on this. My old memories in Haifa. You know, I'm there. I'm not listening to what you have to say because I'm there in Hadar, in the old Technion building. You know, I'm in love with this little icon. So all of these icons, gone. All of these stripes, which are meaningless. Campus. Is it really important, the campus? The most important thing is the square meters or square miles. Is it important, really? It doesn't help your message. So most of the facts here are not important. The ones that are important I extracted and put them in a shorter version that you saw before. How about this one? Can you listen to a presenter when this is projected? Absolutely not. Okay? Here's another one. Okay? This is an illustration. All of those numbers, I would clean them out because it's really not important that this is 57 and this is 59. Not important. The message is that over 20 years, what we have done is 1,600 companies, 100,000 jobs in Israel. I said that, and it was there on my slide. Now, if you absolutely want to show this, I would say, I would highlight this fact. By the way, I wouldn't show it because it goes down. Okay, there's a bad message here. So this is actually not a good illustration to show. Those are one of those slides that we always put. There was a second one, I just removed it. And look at this one. New symbols. Now this one is not overloaded. But all of those symbols, what are they for? Really competing on the attention of the audience. Another problem you see, again, same problem, again and again and again, way too many words, sentences that start here and end here, when you need 2 words. Okay? Again, the same problem, a use of color. We used orange for something else. Now we're using it for this, for investment. By the way, investment should always be in green, right? We're talking dollars. Same problems. Here is the program. Here are the main components. Why do you need all of these words on the slide? And because we didn't have enough room in one slide, we overflowed to another one. And we saw this one, for some reason, when I copied it, it lost the background. It had the green background. And become a strategic partner, all of that. And the last slide is this. Is this an action slide? Contact us? Yes, but it's a very weak action slide. Okay, I would rather leave this one, become a strategic partner. That's the action. If you really need to put the contact us, put it here. But the most important information is here. Now you saw my version. My version was even shorter and all of that, right? I would leave this. I wouldn't let the audience leave the room without seeing this. Okay, I would leave it here until everybody leaves the room, because this is the most important thing that I want. Okay, so coming back, I need to do it for my presentation too. So coming back to my presentation, I showed you a method that works. I showed you how to build the content and the story, the flow, how to select the content and how to organize it in a way that makes it 1 + 1 = 2 + 1 = 3, and so forth. It's a progression of information, and not only just an information dump. It's all based on what this audience might be interested in listening to. So we definitely covered this. We also covered format of slides. You saw all the rules. You understood these rules. They are not complicated rules. We touched a little bit the subject of audience, and we didn't touch at all the subject of presenter. So next time you do a presentation, 4 components. The first one, audience. Don't start before you profile the audience, who they are. What will make them act? What do you want from them? You have to be clear with yourself. Not just I do a presentation, okay? I want all of you to change the way you are doing presentations. I know it. It's very clear to me. Okay? If I don't know it, I shouldn't start presenting. So you start with the audience and understand at least all of that. Then you start building the content and the flow according to the method. It's all material of key messages and evidence to support those key messages. And you always use the audience's language. Oh, I haven't spoken at all about lingo. You know what lingo is? Professional talk. You notice that I am here almost 2 hours and I'm speaking English. I'm not speaking business language. Why? Because every country has its own business language, and I know most of you are Hebrew speakers. I'm speaking English to you even though I'm a Hebrew speaker. There's so many translations that are going on. Do we need all those buzzwords? No. They're actually creating a load that makes it very difficult to understand. Use simple language and the audience's language, a language that the audience will understand. And make sure that you're building a story that builds up, step by step by step, according to the method I showed you. The format of the slides, all the rules that I gave you, basically conform to these 2 things. Non-disruptive. Non-disruptive to whom? To the speaker and to the audience. And the style that you want to use is a minimalistic style. Less decorations. Okay, because those decorations are disruptive. And the last thing, we didn't speak about the presenter, but because I didn't want to leave it without this final component, and in the video Dr. Steinholtz was talking about it, the presenter has to show that he is credible, enthusiastic, friendly and attentive. Okay, I don't know if you noticed that, but I'm always looking at the eyes. There's nobody here in the audience who didn't get a look from me. And I'm doing it all the time. Did you notice this? I wasn't born like this. I trained myself to do it. Okay, so the presenter has to be attentive, because if you go to sleep, I want to know that. Okay? So you have to be friendly, smile as much as you can. I'm not a good smiler, I know that. And be attentive to the audience. Always watch what they're doing. Are they with you? Interactive. Try to create those experiences. Look here, look there, what do you think? And so forth. Try to be interactive, and you have to have a winning attitude. Meaning you are convinced that what you have to offer to them is really important for them. So that's a winning attitude. If you don't show it, you're a loser.